Now that the dust has officially settled for Naoya Inoue versus Stephen Fulton, today I feel ready to give my Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford prediction. And this fight I still believe is the best fight in the sport. I still view it as a fight that I was more excited for than Inoue and Fulton. And this is still the best fight that could be made in the entire sport objectively. And my prediction for this fight, what I see happening, I'm going to give you a round-by-round breakdown. I think the first 2, maybe even 3 rounds, I see Spence outworking Crawford, throwing the jab on the outside, and Crawford trying to get within range and going downstairs to the body. Crawford will have a little bit of success, but Spence will be up early. I see, as the middle rounds play on, the end being very back and forth, with both fighters having varying success. I think Crawford will start to take over a little bit, but Errol will still definitely offer good resistance, and definitely after 7-8 rounds, the fight will be very close. But I see Errol still having success for sure, downstairs to the body, using his jab, keeping Crawford off of him. But I do see Crawford starting to warm up a little bit. However, I think Crawford is going to get caught with some big shots, and his chin will get checked a couple times in this fight, especially in those rounds. I see Crawford eventually adjusting to Errol fully and taking over the last few rounds, and I actually am going to go for a bold pick and say that Crawford will drop Errol Spence in the 12th round. I think in the final round of the fight, they're going to be trading upstairs, and Crawford is actually going to put down Errol Spence in the final round and get a knockdown. Spence will get up from the knockdown, and I think he will survive the round and survive the fight. And after 12 rounds, we go to the score totals, and I think after all 3 judges scored a fight, the winner of this fight by split decision, Terence Bud Crawford. I am picking Terence Crawford to defeat Errol Spence Jr. by a split decision victory, a fight where he can very well get robbed in. There is a good chance that they do give this fight to Errol Spence, but I am picking them to make the right decision and give it to Terence Crawford. I think this fight will be a 7 rounds to 5, 8 rounds to 4, maybe 6 rounds apiece type of fight, but I see the knockdown being the difference. I do have a gut feeling that Crawford is going to drop Errol late in this fight. There's a chance that Crawford actually gets dropped himself at some point in this fight, but I'm not going to go with that. I think Crawford's going to drop Errol Spence in the later rounds. Now, this is a really tough fight to call, and I'll tell you this much. If this fight happened a year or 2 ago, I'd be more comfortable picking Crawford. I'd probably pick him to win by unanimous decision, possibly even a late stoppage. But to be honest, I've never really favored Crawford to stop Errol. I've always picked him to win this fight on points. I think Errol Spence has a very good chin, and I think that's one of his advantages over Crawford due to his size, is how good his chin is compared to Crawford's. I genuinely believe he does have a better chin. However, I think Crawford will land the more concussive shots as the fight goes on. I see him really landing combinations and barrages on Errol Spence and countering him to death in the later rounds. I think inevitably Spence's chin will crack late in the fight. But as I said, I think if this fight happened a year, maybe 2 years ago, I'd be more comfortable. But I believe Crawford is, 35 years old now, almost 36. Now, Errol is definitely not a spring chicken. I believe he's 32 or 33, but those are some very crucial years. It's not like it's a 26-year-old versus a 28-year-old. Mid-30s, which Crawford is when you really start to decline. And Terence Crawford's a fighter who fights a lot with his reflexes, a lot with his speed. He's not really a guy who relies too much on his power. He's a puncher, but he's not the type of puncher where even if you get older, the power will be enough for him to win his big fights. Someone like a Triple G or maybe a Mike Tyson at one point of his career, where even though they've clearly slowed down and their reflexes aren't the same, the power stays, and because of that, they're still very dominant. Crawford doesn't rely as much on his power as those guys. Now, yes, Crawford is a big puncher. He is arguably a bigger puncher than Spence, if we're being honest, and from the performances we've seen of both of them. However, it doesn't change the fact that he fights a lot off of his reflexes and his speed. I also think his IQ, which definitely has not deteriorated. When you get older, your IQ does not drop as a fighter. If anything, it goes up. And I think the fact that he is such a high IQ fighter is definitely going to benefit him. He switches stances, and Errol Spence did say in an interview that Crawford switching stances did not concern him, did not bother him at all, and I think that's a very bad way to look at it from Spence's perspective. He could be bluffing, he could be studying it. That's what I think he is, if I had to guess. But him saying that he doesn't really take that too seriously, and he doesn't really care that much that Crawford is a switch hitter, is very amateurish of him, because Crawford, due to that fact, is going to utilize his abilities to switch stances even more, since Errol Spence seems to not be taking it seriously. But I do think there's a good chance he was bluffing when saying that. Of course, biggest fight of your career, you're going to have every single thing checked when it comes to what your opponent is good at. And I see Errol Spence being able to be comfortable with Crawford switching stances. I don't think Crawford switching stances will give Errol too much issues. And the thing is, Crawford doesn't even switch that much. He'll fight for like a minute orthodox and the rest of the fight southpaw. It's not like he'll go back and forth from orthodox to southpaw. And for this fight, I definitely think he should fight Errol southpaw. I don't think he should fight him orthodox at all. I think this fight being a I think this fight getting on the inside and getting rough could actually benefit Crawford, because a lot of people talk about Errol Spence's strength and view that as an advantage for Errol, but I genuinely believe Crawford is the physically stronger fighter. And that's not because I think Errol Spence is a weak fighter. It's because I feel Crawford's one of the strongest guys that is at welterweight and in that weight range. I mean, this guy did wrestling. I've seen him do jiu-jitsu or wrestling or something with someone in the gym before, not in person, but on video. And I've seen him against other opponents. Jeff Horn, who's bigger than Errol in my opinion. I mean, this guy fought at welterweight. Jeff Horn's a big guy. He bullied Jeff Horn, not just in the ring when it came to outworking him and landing flusher shots. He physically bullied and asserted dominance on Jeff Horn, and I feel Crawford is the physically stronger of the two fighters. He has a wrestling background. If this fight gets on the inside, I feel Errol Spence, you can argue, is a better inside fighter. I think he's a more seasoned inside fighter, but I think Crawford is the more deadly of the two on the inside. And if he could counter Errol Spence's body work, he's definitely going to win this fight for me if he doesn't get robbed. And if he gets this fight on the inside, use that physicality, use that strength, get him on the ropes and bully him. I've seen clips and evidence side by side of Errol Spence's fight against Sean Porter and Terence Crawford's fight against Sean Porter. I believe Sean is their only common opponent. There might be someone else. Oh yeah, Kell Brook, but that doesn't really count. I mean, it was completely different Kell Brook for both fights, completely different contexts for both fights. And Spence was younger. Crawford was already in his prime, already proven. Anyhow, I saw clips of the Sean Porter fights for both of them, and we saw that Sean Porter, yes, he was a little older against Errol, but I don't think he was that much of a better fighter as he was when he fought Crawford. We saw him able to use his physicality way more effectively and he had way more access to using his physicality against Errol Spence than he did against Terence Crawford. Whenever he tried to bully Crawford or get him on the ropes, Crawford would maneuver his way out of the ropes and get Sean on the ropes. Whenever Sean would try to hold and smother Crawford, Crawford would end up countering him and bullying him himself. Now, when he did that to Errol, Errol did not have much of an answer for it. His only answer was to, go balls to the wall and just let those hands fly. When Sean really tried to get within close of Errol and smother's work, Errol didn't really have much of a plan aside from throwing with Sean. And yes, he got him the victory. I actually thought Sean edged out Errol. A lot of people hate that take, but I genuinely thought Sean Porter deserved the victory that night, especially when you consider how many low blows Errol Spence landed on Sean Porter. It was actually a staggering amount that no one really talks about. But when Sean got within range, Errol did not have much of a response. Crawford did. He knew what to do, and I think if this fight's on the inside, Crawford is very likely to win it. There's a very good chance, actually, that Crawford tries fighting Errol on the back foot and tries outboxing him. I wouldn't be shocked, however. I hope that's not the game plan for Crawford. I think he'd have much more success coming at Errol and trying to bully the bully. I think whenever you fight a puncher, you want to pressure him and get him on the back foot. We even saw in today's fight for Inouye and Fulton. Inouye dominated the fight, arguably won every round. I gave Fulton one round. I think Fulton had a little more success and he was a little more comfortable, and Inouye was a little less comfortable and he was coming forward and pressuring. We saw Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Wilder was much less comfortable and actually got battered when Fury came forward and bullied the bully. If I'm Crawford, I'm bullying the bully. I'm coming forward. I'm getting Errol on the ropes. I'm going to the body. And I'm pressuring him down. I'm walking him down, and I think that's the game plan that he should implement. But you guys tell me in the comment section below. Tell me your exact prediction. If you can properly predict this fight down below in the comment section, I'll pin your comment for this video and give you a personalized shout-out in my post-fight review. That's all I got to say, though, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. God bless. I'll see you guys later. Peace.